prestigious group, I get to be one of the people who can talk about Frank and what he's meant to all of us. And it's amazing, too, when you think about the arc of Frank at H.B. Woodlawn. He went from being responsible for one person. He went from one kid to being responsible for everybody and everything. It's an amazing. And Frank, when Ray was leaving, now there are a lot of you here whose memories going, that's Ray Anderson. He used to be when Ray was leaving, people would come up to me and they would say, well, aren't you worried? Aren't you worried? And I got asked that question so many times, I finally started saying, listen, when Benjamin Franklin was leaving as the minister in France, they got Thomas Jefferson. And that was my way of saying I had great confidence in Frank. And I was not worried about how things were going to be. But as I was looking back to that confidence and thinking, well, did that work out? I started thinking about, well, how would you measure that? How would I measure? So, and I probably have read too many things on sabermetrics and baseball, but I came up with a number of things that struck me that would be the way that I would think about how would you measure what he had done and what he meant. So the first thing would be to not only honor, but also live the core values of H.B. Woodlawn. And so we know that would be a batting average of 1,000 for Frank now. And the second thing is to trust teachers, to give them that space to experiment, change things. And if you have any knowledge of what's been going on since Frank has been there, there's been a lot of change, a lot of wonderful new ideas, and that's because teachers feel that confidence that comes from him to do those sort of things. And then the next thing would be valuing kids. Everybody knows the kids are going to make some bad decisions, make some mistakes. But Frank knows how to deal with them so the kids know that they are valued. He knows that the motto, verbum sap sap, doesn't mean that H.B. Woodlawn is only for wise kids. H.B. Woodlawn is a place where we make kids wise. And Frank there's another thing that you want in this principle, and they have to be a shield. You're sort of like the Captain Kirk there on the Enterprise, and he says, shields up. Because the teachers, students, the school is often under attack. And maybe it's a misguided parent that has some complaint that Frank is able to fend off. Maybe it's, another group higher up who might be trying to do things. They don't understand H.B. Woodlawn. They don't have, or maybe just it's another prism that they're looking at things. But Frank has been able to be a shield and defend H.B. Woodlawn through a lot of really big challenges. And so I'd give you a batting average of 1,000. Last metric that I would have is, this is a person you want to be around. He makes you feel good when you are around him. You want to hang out with him. He has that warmth and just inherently gracious person that being in his presence makes you feel better about yourself. And so I'd give you 1,000 on that metric. If I can carry out my baseball little analogy here, Frank, you're an all-star. Not only that, you're a Hall of Famer. sure it's already been said to you, and it should be said again. Mary loved you. She cherished working with you. And I just think in this celebration, if you could kind of feel a merriness enveloping you and hugging you and saying, well done. Well done, Frank.
Do I have to stay here? But you're going to have to look this way. Okay, Meg Davis has written a little tune here that we're all going to sing. As Janet described it this afternoon to me, this is en masse karaoke. Okay? So everybody, please sing to You Are My Sunshine.
Anyone else?
that part.
We're not done yet.
So, Frank, I know Frank, as most of you know, or many of you know, Frank has a tradition, or had a tradition of accompanying the high school music program on their many trips to Nashville, and did you go to Puerto Rico also?
I did.
To Puerto Rico, and unfortunately he was not able to join them this past year when they went up to Chicago. And I was fortunate enough to go as a teacher, but also as a chaperone because my son was on the trip. And while sitting in the House of Blues on our last night there, I think it was, or second to last night there, we were having some discussion, and you came up, of course, and we were discussing what do you get someone who has meant so much to our program, and to every student, and to every parent, and to every teacher, and to everybody. And so, it has to be an instrument. And so we talked about it, and what we came up with is something for you to proudly display. It's designed by almost every staff member in the school, as well as many retirees, and I'm sure we can maybe have it come back to school. We spent the last 2 weeks of people sneaking into my room when you weren't around, and using pink pens to sign their names, and I want to make sure that this has a...
there'd be some bomb threat downtown. And I got this call from Frank saying, would you want to come and work at HB? And I said, sure. However, I have 2 small children and I can only work part-time. And this was a full-time position. And Frank said, well, I think we can probably figure it out. So several years later, a couple months later, we figured it out. I started working, and for a couple of years, I was there part-time, and then I came on full-time, and now I seem to be stuck there. Frank has been much more than a supervisor or a boss or a principal. He's been a teacher even to his peers and to the people who he counts on. And we like to thank him for that.
So I just have a couple of things to say. As I was thinking, as we started the night with our chant of Frank the Tank. And if we had an auditorium full of students, they would certainly be chanting. And there's some irony to Frank the Tank. It's certainly not a reference to his great stature. Mary and I would always, he just eats endless pieces of cake at school. We'd be like, this is so, where does this go? And so where does this come from? And, let's rhymes aside, but part of what's ironic about it is, there's no less tank-like person in the HB Woodlawn community in terms of, he's certainly not someone that rolls over other people. He is so respectful of the people that he works with, and is someone who shares and builds capacity in others, and I certainly have been one of the greatest beneficiaries of that, of someone who trusts other people and trusts that we know what we're doing and gives us opportunities. Then I was trying to think, so where does the tank analogy fit if it's not in this sort of rolling over of people? And I would say that where the analogy fits best is in his sort of steadfastness, and there really is no one who is a greater advocate. I would say that the harder the problem, the more Frank is willing to advocate for that student. And so no matter, when everyone else is saying, this cannot work, we cannot make this work for this kid, he says, yes, we can. And we're going to figure out a way, and I will be there to support you to figure out how we are going to make it work for this student. And I would say for many people in this room, he's been the same steadfast person for us as faculty when there's something that comes across our lives or comes across any part of our teaching life or personal life. He's there as sort of a steadfast advocate for us. So while I will certainly miss him every single day and have implored him to stay, I think we learned a really important lesson last year that we don't have forever, and there are gardens to grow and meals to share and vacations to take and lives to live, and so we are just so excited that he is embarking on this next step in his life. And so we do have another gift that we hope is a little more meaningful to him than one signed by all of us. While the people are important, and Dan, you want to describe this?
So this is,
So, of course, we hope that is prominently displayed somewhere in your house. Of course, if you examine it more closely, it's no longer playable. No, it isn't. It isn't. It was a donation from Carl's program that he was tracking, and we decided to make good use of it. We decided we needed something a little bit more useful, and we know from a very reliable friend of yours that this is exactly what you want.
this year. And everybody in this room chipped in to get this for you.
Are you done? I need a couple of props. Hold on. First off, none of this would have been possible, these 35 years, if it wasn't for my wife, Susan Mary Riley. I'm really pleased that my sons were here for a while. They had to take off for another engagement to Sam and Will, both graduates. Really happy that Susan's cousin, Tricia Mary Riley, is over here. Thank you for being here, Patty. And her sister, Lenny, and brother-in-law, Matt Crocia, taking all the photos right here. That's overwhelming. It's wonderful. I also just want to, before I go any further, thank you, Vanessa. I know you didn't do it alone, and I particularly want to thank Susan Sennett for her. I know there were a number of hands in this, but you and Susan, really extraordinary. So I'm not a golfer, but I thought, okay, as I'm saying goodbye, and of course I'm not saying goodbye, but you know what I mean. As I'm leaving my office in the Stratford building, HB Woodlawn formerly, I thought one way to talk to you would be through like shedding a few things that are in my office.
I have something for everybody, but I'm not going to present it to you tonight, okay? Because you'd hate me. We'd be here till midnight. Just a few things, and if I don't pick on you tonight, it's not because I didn't think you were important or something. These are just kind of the objects that came in. So I'm going to go back to 1979 in November when I had my first visit to the school. And Ray interviewed me pretty briefly. We had a nice talk, and he said, if you're interested in teaching here, you need to go visit a class. So he sent me up to Jim Schroeder's room. And so I went up there, and there was a calculus class or something that was already going. And,
Did I let you in?
He did. Jimmy, you can come in. And so I don't remember much of the calculus. Yes, let's hear it for Jim Schroeder. But what I do remember are all your ball swings.
Yes.
Kind of demonstrate.
Oh, absolutely.
Watch out.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, let's do it. And that was kind of my beginning, my introduction to HB was the golf swing. But the atmosphere in the class was, you can imagine, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a math class. I mean, they covered, and you know Karen, because you were there, Casey, you were there, Vanessa, a number of you had Jim there. So I didn't know about HB Woodlawn coming into that interview. I'd been to the Ed Center, and they took a look at me and said, well, you should go over there. So I did. And that's how I found out about HB. But you were instrumental, and of course I didn't know the rest. But I knew you, and I knew the feeling that was in the class. So I'm giving you this, Jim, because Ann Tobert gave me Mary's daughter, number 3.
Oh, was it really?
Mary's. It's been in my office this year. She brought it by, but thank you for that introduction. Okay? Thank you. Anderson come up here with me. So starting at the top, what I'm referring to really is the attic. How many of you have been in the attic? Okay, if you've been in the attic, not too many of you have, but it's not really accessible. It's up a very dark, narrow stairwell with no ventilation. It's on the roof level. It's a really unfriendly place, really long, fun club. It's got stuff in there from, certainly from 1978 when we moved there, but well before too. There's stuff that came over from Woodlawn and off from Boston. And nothing's been really taken out since then. So it is good in a lot of ways. But what I'm hoping is that you and we need to help Casey out here.
No. That's
Right.
your summer job.
I think we need to wait until the winter when it's not too hot.
Yeah.
So my idea is this, because you're very handy. We should go up there. We should take out one of the shelves, cut a door through the wall into the back parking lot, and get a dumpster. Well, most of what's up there are financial records and memos from Ray Anderson, 1972. But anyway, there's a lot of treasures up there, and we just need to organize it, so that it can be easily transferred over to HB Woodlawn and Wilson. So, but I brought you. Here's the master schedule and Ray's handwriting from 1994. Posters from Arena Scheduling. All right. Daniel DeGracia. So there's no way that we could do what we do without Daniel. I've never worked with a building manager like this man, because some of the wonderful things that you were saying about me is true of Daniel. He lives the philosophy of the school. He is a teacher as well as a building manager. And I'm going to miss you very much. You have made my job much easier since we got there. I only have one little thing to give you. I found it in my desk. This is one of those laser temperature. So, fortunately with new HVAC system, we don't have to do too much of this correcting, but. Christina, are you there? Come up, Christina. Christina Herrera and I worked when I first came, when Mary Schroeder retired in 2001. We were partners. I was telling Mary a few minutes ago. She, came in. I came in July 1st. Mary came in and worked with me for 2 or 3 days, and then said goodbye. And that was it, right? But you taught me everything in a few days. You were very efficient. But Christina. And now Christina has moved upstairs. We moved the middle school office up there. And one of the things that one of your new responsibilities is all the work orders and everything. Okay? And as Daniel knows, we have an account with Cherrydale Hardware. And it's one of the things we have to pay off every week. So here's your Cherrydale Hardware hat. So this has been a wonderful year working with Graham. 2 years really, but really just an extraordinary time. He, Casey, and I are just a wonderful team. One of the things that I shed last year, and I've helped him with it a little bit this year, but he hasn't needed much help, is managing the building. Okay, and working with custodians, working with contractors, now working with the architects who are going to be doing the new building and so on. So, just a couple of things that you need to help you out with it. So, one are all these keys that Ray gave me. And I don't know what they are. But they look really cool. So this is for some of you and David and Tess are going to be senior sponsors. And I think Ray had this too, but I have like a trunk full of t-shirts, sweatpants, sweatshirts, all kinds of HB, stuff that seniors have either given me or that I found, or so anyway, I've taken what I want. The rest of it is, for the most part, mint, new, okay? And so you can give this to your junior class to sell. Like there's this one sports item. This is my favorite one from the early 80s. It's great mint, okay? We could have an auction right here. Dave sold. So, one of the things that Dave always reminds me of, and this is something that Susan reminded me of when I first became a teacher, is it's important to keep a playful nature. And we know. Dave is a master of that. So Susan gave me this in like 1980. Howdy doody. Been in my office ever since 35 years. got some little treasures in it, you know, a little airplane. And, anyway, and the last child that really played with this, I think, was James. So there you go. Casey Robinson. All right, so Casey, your things are very simple. This is also something that Susan gave me when I first became a principal. It's just it's kind of a cartoon of a person trying to fight a dragon off, you know? And it's inspired me many, many, many times. I keep it really close to, you know, my computer and my phone, so there's I also know how much Casey loves dances. Give her some wristbands. Sensitive, but I've got these in my office all year this year. Mary's keys. With their bell, you can always hear Mary come. You're never any good at speaking of one child. So anyway. You know, Vanessa is the major communicator in the building. We know that if we need to know anything, it's with Vanessa. And when I became principal, it was probably Meg Casilla, who was here earlier in the evening, gave all the secondary principals new walkie-talkies. Gave us a bunch of them, and so Mary and Judy and I tried them out for a little while, and then Mary and Casey and I tried them out for a little while. But I mean, and Daniel, we tried it a little bit. Anyway, I think I've got 6 or 8 of them in my closet. I know that you will find something artistic to do with it. I've got 2 more things. Bill Podolsky, he may be the link to the fish for the next year, so I'm hoping. So let me just say a couple other things. You know, when I think about, when I was talking with the parents and the alumni the other night, Ray and I were, he was reminding me of what I said to them. There's so much, you know, in our documents about what it is that we do, and you know, our philosophy of operation, the 3 principles, and all that. But I continually think about what is it that we're trying to accomplish, and of course we know the academics, we know the athletics, we know all the arts and the connections and relationships. Those are all the essential things and the obvious things that we do. But I think that the thing I'm proudest of is I think we make kids feel better about themselves. I think that and if a kid already feels good about themselves, I think we help them help other people feel good about themselves. The other thing I think happens in our community is that we feel better about ourselves too. I know I feel better about myself than I did when I first came and saw that golf swing, you know. And so I think that that's an extraordinary thing. Another thing that's not really written in our philosophy and so on is that I think it takes courage to do what we do. And I think it takes courage to be any kind of a teacher, all right? But I think it takes a different shape of courage to be a teacher at HB Woodlawn, because we put the control out there. We don't keep it, you know, close. And the teachers don't have that, you all don't have that satisfaction or assurance that, well, I can just tell the principal that this is happening, they're going to do something about it, they're going to make a rule about it. And we just don't do that. And thank God that we don't. And so I think that it is that courage and it's the love that we have for each other. And our kids, and courage and love really go together. It takes a lot of courage to love, and to love well, and to love steadily and constantly. So I think that those are really fundamental things that we do, and I am so happy to have been a part of this with you all, and will continue to be part of your community. I love you.
Short announcements. One is, most of you have heard this, but the PAC raised over $13,000 for the first Frank scholarship, and so we'll be awarding that for the first time to a graduate in a month from now. And so that's 3 weeks. 2.5. And we know that many people in this room also contributed to that effort as well, so we're really excited about that. And then we just ask that everyone join us for dessert. Thank you so much for coming, and it's an amazing room to look out at as we all look around at each other and think about Frank's words. We are an amazing community of people, and the fact that this group of people is here tonight is just really shows what a community we are. So thank you all for coming and for everything that you did to make this night a success. So thank you.
We have an 8:20 meeting tomorrow.
We do have an 8:20.